Hey, gals and guys, this is Christopher Mosier from MyMediaHelper.com, and I'm not sure how it happened, but it did happen, and then we're talking about Halloween 2023 already. Not sure where that came from. Came really quick. It just seems like I was doing Halloween review movies from 2020, 2021, 2020, and I thought I lost my stutter, but apparently not. Let's get into the Tubi 2023 Halloween movie reviews. Sounds good. Happy Halloween 2023, gals and guys. As I went through to find and write about the films I'll be covering this year, it inadvertently turned into a theme. Movies that are free to stream this year on a lot of the platforms are older movies that are considered classics. Not only that, a lot of them I've never seen. On the flip side, there are many I've watched over the years but have become free to stream for the first time, or this is the first time I've caught them free to stream. Take your pick on that one. This just means that at least half of the films we'll be covering this year are fantastic mainstream films. A bit different than 2021 and 2022, where those productions were on the spectrum from absolutely terrible to absolutely brilliant. This year, on 2023, all these films are worth your viewing time. I'm watching and reviewing these films in January of 2023, as I have no life that I know of. Plus, I'm currently unemployed and majorly depressed, so I need something to get my mind off things. I'll thank myself in October when all the videos will be completed, and with any luck, I wouldn't have time to do them because I'll be gamely employed by then, making the world a much better place with my knowledge. So let's begin day one with Tubi and a classic. I know this is going to sound crazy. I'm 53 years old and I've never seen The Shining. Since 1980, this film has eluded me, or I've eluded it. I've just never had any interest in watching it. It's the fact that the movie is free on Tubi, and I need to review 5 Halloween-themed films for this streaming service that I finally sat down and watched the thing. And I'm excited to tell you what I thought. The Shining is a 1980 psychological horror film produced and directed by Stanley Kubrick and co-written with novelist Diane Johnson. The film is based on the Stephen King's 1977 novel of the same name and stars Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Scatman Crothers, and Danny Lloyd. The film's central character is Jack Torrance, an aspiring writer and recovering alcoholic who accepts a position as an off-season caretaker of an isolated historic overlook hotel in the Colorado Rockies with his wife, Wendy Torrance, and young son, Danny Torrance. Danny is gifted with psychic abilities named Shining. After a winter storm leaves the Torrances snowbound, Jack's sanity deteriorates due to the influence of the supernatural forces that inhabit the hotel. Production took place almost exclusively at EMI Elstree Studios, with sets based on real locations. Kubrick often worked with a small crew, which allowed him to do many takes, sometimes to the exhaustion of the actors and staff. The new Steadicam mount was used to shoot several scenes, giving the film an innovative and immersive look and feel. There has been much speculation about the meanings and actions in the film because of inconsistencies, ambiguities, and symbolism and differences from the book. The film was released in the United States on May 23rd of 1980, in the United Kingdom on October 2nd by Warner Brothers. There were several versions for theatrical releases, each of which was cut shorter than the preceding cut. About 27 minutes was cut in total. Reactions to the film at the time of its release were mixed. Stephen King criticized the film due to its deviations from the novel. The film received 2 nominations at the Razzies, one for Worst Director and Worst Actress, the latter of which was later rescinded due to Kubrick's treatment of Duvall on set. Critical response to the film has since become more favorable. In 2012, The Shining was ranked the 75th greatest film of all time in the Sight and Sound Directors Poll. In 2018, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. 39 years after the original film, a sequel, Dr. Sleep, was released on November 8th of 2019. In my opinion, the film was just okay. I didn't understand the point of the hedge maze in the beginning. The mother and child characters were lost, but at no time does it show them finding their way out. Then it cuts to Tuesday, and the son is riding down the hall on his big wheel. I felt it was a weird transition. I knew the maze would come into play again in the movie. I just don't get the editing choice there.
What the movie turns out to be is an ambiguous ending that's been debated by fans forever with no clear, true answer to what it all means. And I'll let the snobs argue over it. I posted on Facebook about how I didn't understand the ending. One friend posted and said she read the book and still didn't understand the ending. And then other friends commented that they didn't get it either. And so I'm glad it wasn't just me. I'll just say I don't get what the ending means or why Jack Nicholson ended up in a 1921 black and white picture hanging on the hotel wall. I'm man enough to admit I don't have a clue what that means. I'll let the movie snobs, like I said, deal with all that nonsense. I don't like ambiguous movies. I don't mind thinking during a movie. Give me the proper clues that make a satisfying conclusion. I've never been a big Kubrick fan. I feel he's far overrated. I know this film is considered a classic, but also feel it's far overrated. And you let me know what you think down in the comments. Tremors is a 1990 American monster horror comedy film directed by Ron Underwood, produced by Brent Maddock and S.S. Wilson, written by Maddock, Wilson, and Underwood, and starring Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Michael Gross, and Reba McEntire. In the film, handymen Vale McKee and Earl Bassett wish to leave the small desert town of Perfection, Nevada, as they are tired of their dull lives. However, they happen upon a series of mysterious deaths and a concerned seismologist, Rhonda, studying unnatural readings below the ground. With the help of eccentric survivalist couple Bert and Heather Gummer, the group fights for survival against giant prehistoric worm-like monsters hungry for human flesh. Released by Universal Pictures, the film is the first installment of the Tremor franchise and was followed by 5 direct-to-video sequels and 1 prequel. There was Tremors 2 Aftershocks in 1996, Tremors 3 Back to Perfection 2001, Tremors 4 The Legend Begins 2004, Tremors 5 Bloodlines 2015, Tremors A Cold Day in Hell in 2018, and Tremors Shrieker Island 2020. A television series titled Tremors, the series aired from March through August of 2003, which I wasn't even aware of. A second television series was set to air in 2018 after a pilot had been shot, with Bacon reprising his role for the first time since the original film, but multiple networks, including Sci-Fi, passed on the series. Now, this is kind of a stretch for a Halloween-themed movie. It does have a monster. I guess there are parts some people would consider scary. I confess that I've seen this movie a lot over the years, and I'm not sick of it yet. I did sit down and watch all the sequels, and they're all pretty terrible. I'm not going to review them all because they are all pretty much of the same caliber in a dim comparison to the original classic. I also need to mention or re-mention the pilot they made for a Tremors television show that brought back Kevin Bacon. The pilot was awesome. I think it was the budget that made the pilot never get picked up. That's just my own personal belief. It would have been a great series. The first Tremors is a fun ride. The rest of them are pretty terrible. Search the internet for the Tremors pilot with Kevin Bacon. It's great, and I'll see if I can find it and put the link down in the description. Blade is a 1998 superhero film directed by Stephen Norrington and written by David S. Goyer. Based on the Marvel Comics superhero of the same name, it is the first installment of the Blade franchise, and the film stars Wesley Snipes as the titular character, with Stephen Dorff, Chris Christopherson, and N. Bush Wright in supporting roles. In the film, Blade is a dehamper, is that how you say that? A human with vampire strengths, but not their weaknesses, who together with his mentor Abraham Whistler and hematologist Karen Jensen fights against vampires, namely the exceptionally vicious Deacon Frost. Released on August of 21st of 1998, Blade was a commercial success, grossing $70 million at the U.S. box office and $60.2 million worldwide. Despite mixed reviews from film critics, the film received a positive reception from audiences and has since garnered a cult following. It is also hailed as one of Snipes' signature roles. It was followed by 2 sequels, Blade 2 and Blade Trinity, both written by Goyer, who also directed the latter, and we'll discuss those in a bit. Blade was noted as a dark superhero film for its time, as well as being Marvel's first successful film and setting the stage for further comic book film adaptations. This is cool as I get an opportunity to talk about all 3 Blade films. I was debating if I should do the trilogy as a separate video, independent from Halloween, For the sake of time and my own sanity, I'll just fill up the rest of this video with my thoughts on the trilogy, considering they're free on Tubi. The Blade Trilogy has been talked about to death. You can find a million videos on YouTube talking about these films. I'm not sure what I have to add to the conversation. I'll just add my 2 cents, I suppose. The first Blade is a classic as far as I'm concerned, and as you've probably heard a million times, paved the way for comic book movies to come. I believe this to be true. Blade was a different kind of vampire movie, a kind of movie I'd never seen before. It probably doesn't resonate as much today as it did in 1998 because we're so spoiled with computer graphic eye candy these days. Seeing the way the vampires turned into skeletons when Blade tore through them was visually pleasing. The whole opening scene of the movie was visually pleasing. A vampire killing and taking out vampires with martial arts. No, I certainly didn't see anything like that before. Blade was a different experience when seeing it in the theater in 1998. It was the culmination of lore and horror and action that had never all come together in a film before. The movie was like putting ingredients from other cakes we all enjoy eating and putting them all together for the first time and making a new dessert experience. You know a movie is great when you can go back and watch it again and revisit it and still enjoy it and catch new elements from it you haven't seen before or didn't catch before. Blade isn't the greatest movie of all time. The effects are extremely dated, and some of them didn't look all that great in the first time around. That's easy to forgive. I'm not the biggest Stephen Dorff fan in the world. I don't find him to be particularly charismatic or a good actor. He's certainly a better actor than I am. A chair is a better actor than I am. Dorff is never in anything that good. I just never dug him, and there's really no reason why. It's just one of those things. The first Blade is the best of the 3 Blade movies covered here, so at least check this one out for Halloween. The first Blade is the best of the 3 Blade movies covered here, so at least check this one out for Halloween. It's a contained story, so no need to continue if you don't want to. But if you do, let's get into Blade 2. Hey, that rhymes. Blade 2 is a 2002 American superhero film based on the Marvel character Blade, directed by Guillermo del Toro and written by David S. Goyer. A sequel to Blade from 1998 is the second installment in the Blade franchise, followed by Blade Trinity. The film follows the human-vampire hybrid, Blade, in his continuing effort to protect humans from vampires, finding himself in a fierce battle against a group of mutant vampires who seek to commit global genocide of both vampires and the human race. Blade and his human allies are coerced into joining forces with a special elite group of vampires. Blade 2 was released on March 22nd of 2002 and was a box office success, grossing over $155 million. It received mixed reviews from critics, earning praise for its performances, atmosphere, direction, and action sequences, although its script and lack of character development have been criticized. I watched this movie last night for the first time in probably like 10 years, and my recollection of my experience in the theater is I liked the film. My recollection of when I first bought it on DVD is, again, I liked the film. Watching it last night, I didn't like it so much. The first Blade holds up beautifully. The sequel doesn't hold the fondness I once had for it. The resurrection of Whistler is pretty silly, although I do like the character and I do like Chris Christopherson. The effects in this movie are a bit better than the original Blade, but just like the film's predecessor, haven't aged so well. The plot was alright. The enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of deal. I still enjoyed the rival relationship between Wesley Snipes' Blade and Ron Perlman's character. So what was the problem? It was the beginning and the ending. They were stupid. There was a lot of time spent on Blade recovering Whistler. That time could have been spent laying the tracks down for something else. We visited Whistler. He died. I do love the character, but they should have just kept him dead. The whole Whistler-Scud dynamic was dumb. Scud turning out to be working for the vampires made no sense based on his other actions in the film. Based on the backstory of how Blade found him and recruited him, it just seemed contrived with zero payoffs for his betrayal. I forgave it the first couple viewings. I'm not sure why I don't this time out. I just thought it was dumb. The ending also seemed contrived. Plot element after plot element was introduced, like they were just putting it together with parts that didn't fit with each other. The whole master race reveals and the experiment went wrong was odd. Father against son, odd. Sister against brother, odd. Blade against a son who defeated his father, odd. Guillermo del Toro is a touch-and-go director. Some of his films are brilliant. Some of his films are terrible. This one is kind of in between. I don't dislike Blade 2. I think I thought more about it this time out rather than having the thought of the original Blade bouncing around in my head at the same time. It just wasn't the film I remember it to be. Now, the next film is exactly how I remember it to be, and maybe even worse. Blade Trinity is a 2004 American superhero film written and directed by David S. Goyer, who also wrote screenplays for Blade and Blade 2. It stars Wesley Snipes as Blade, based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, who also produced with Goyer, Peter Frankfurt, and Lynn Harris, with supporting cast of Ryan Reynolds, Jessica Biel, Chris Christopherson, Dominic Purcell, Parker Posey, and Triple H in his acting debut. In the third and final installment in the Blade Trilogy, the war between humans and vampires continues. Blade has been framed for numerous murders by the vampire leader Daniko Talas, who is determined to lead her bloodthirsty compatriots to victory. Blade must team up with a band of rogue vampire hunters to save humanity from his most challenging enemy yet, Dracula. Blade Trinity was released in the United States on December 8th of 2004. The film grossed $132 million at the box office worldwide on a budget of $65 million and received mostly negative reviews from critics for its formulaic themes, directing, and acting. It is the worst reviewed film in the trilogy. The film was followed by 2006 Blade the series and also marks Reynolds' first superhero role as well as his first collaboration with Marvel Entertainment. Marvel regained the film rights to the character in 2012. This film did not help me like Ryan Reynolds. In fact, this film made me not like Ryan Reynolds. I liked him on the sitcom Two Guys and a Girl, or Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place as Michael Eugene Leslie Berg-Bergen. When he became Hannibal King in Blade Trinity, I despised the man. Him and his stupid wisecracking jokes. The jokes were stupid, and I thought so was he. Ryan Reynolds did manage to make it up to me, since especially with his second go-round as the Deadpool character, I even have his phone plan through Mint Mobile. Ryan Reynolds and I are tight now, so don't you worry. He's my bitch, my main man. This movie is painful to watch. It's not very good. I guess Wesley Snipes was an asshole all through filming. The script was garbage. The story is garbage. Ryan Reynolds, who I like a lot, does not fit in this movie at all. If Blade was an example of how to make a great comic book movie, then Blade 3 Trinity is how to make a sucky comic book movie. What I wanted to see in this movie was more for Blade to be recruited by the government to take care of a vampire problem. They already laid the groundwork in the first movie on how there is an uneasy vampire and governmental alliance. This did zippo with that, and instead rehashed the original movie badly. Perhaps Snipes already knew he was in a piece of shit movie and was under contract to make it. Maybe Snipes knew what writing was on the wall. Let me start by saying I hate this movie. I have so much contempt and hate for this movie as I have love and accolations for the original. Blade 1 and 3 are polar opposites when it comes to quality. Who is the villain? Count Dracula, which isn't bad in itself. It's the fact that Dracula is now a gym rat sporting a wardrobe only Conan the Barbarian would be seen in. Whistler dies again. There is no emotional weight there. He already died once and came back to life just to be killed off again. Like I said in my Blade 2 review, they should have just left him dead. What was the point of the whole resurrection in the first place? The police capture Blade, and now this would be the perfect scenario for these two forces to join. Well, forces. Not in this movie. In this movie, the filmmakers are going to make every stupid choice possible. The hell with awesome dynamics and cool plot points. Whatever seems the most stupid is what went forward. Magically, Whistler has a daughter who has never been mentioned. There's never any kind of emotional moment that she reflects on her father. They probably had to throw in more stop motion or fight scenes instead of the emotional heartstrings. None of the Ryan Reynolds jokes land. Even the crickets don't make a sound. I have a hard time believing these were Ryan's ad-libs. I guess they were. I'd be curious to know which were his ad-libs and which were in the script, or if Reynolds has just gotten funnier over the years. Now Dracula has the magical power to morph into other people. What's with all the stupid slow motion? I really hate this movie. The vampires set Blade up by filming him kill a human so they can show the world. They don't do anything with it. The authorities arrest him, but that's it. There's no big manhunt for him, no mention of it until the final scene of the film when the police raid the scene in slow motion. It's so fucking stupid. Why is Dracula running from Blade? He's Dracula, the most powerful vampire to ever exist, and he's running away like a little bitch. Then when Blade comes face to face at a rooftop, Dracula talks about humans not knowing honor while he holds a baby in his hands, threatening to drop it. Who wrote this shit? Well, I know who wrote this shit. Dracula throws the baby so he can make his escape. Blade is able to catch the child, saving it. What honor is that? What a terrible piece of writing. God, I hate this movie. Later on in the movie, the Whistler is back and killing all the Night Stalker crew. And it turns out to really be Dracula. Well, no, duh. Doing his morph into other people trick again. The problem this time out is Dracula never met Whistler. How did he know to be Whistler? This just explains the logic of this movie and the sheer incompetence with which it was thrown together. Dracula, who speaks of the human race that has no honor, runs like a bitch away from Blade, throws an innocent baby into the air, attacks and kills defenseless women in their home, then he kidnaps a little girl and hides behind her like a shield. This is our honor-based villain. Dracula is actually a pussy. That's our protagonist. That's the best the filmmakers could come up with. In the final fight with Blade, Dracula morphs into a more powerful, grotesque creature. Why didn't he do that at the first encounter with Blade? Who is to know? There's no logic here. There's no character consistency. Anyways, Dracula, because he is the original bloodline of vampires, is stabbed with a biological weapon by Blade that kills all vampires. It makes no fucking sense. Throw in some more stupid slow-motion shots, a stupid voiceover by Ryan Reynolds, and that ends the Wesley Snipes Blade franchise. David S. Goyer, your movie sucked.
All right, my little ghoul darlings, you just click the link below in the description for Tubi, and normally what I do is just scroll on down until I see horror, and I just click on the main category of horror, and then you just got oodles and oodles of spooky and scary movies to start with. This is only day 1 of 7, so get yourself started with those, and I will catch you tomorrow. And of course, please subscribe to the channel, please like this video, please share with fellow horror people. I was going to say something else, but I couldn't think of it. And hit the bell for updates. Aficionados, that's the word I was going to say. I'll catch you tomorrow. Boo.